All right, so today we're going to be going over section 2.3, over slope. Slope is also called rate of change. So in your assignment, when it talks about the rate of change, it's talking about the slope. The slope of a line is the ratio of the change in the y-coordinates to the change in the x-coordinates. M is used to denote slope. The formula for the slope of a line from two given points is m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, where x sub 2 and x sub 1 are not equal. The formula may also be written as m equals, and that little triangle for y means change in y over change in x, or some people read that as delta y over delta x, which means the ratio of the change in y's to the change in x's. The graph of a line also can indicate if the slope is positive, negative, 0, or undefined. So they give you an example of the negative slope, the positive slope, an undefined slope, and a 0 slope. Lines that are parallel have slopes that are equal. Lines that are perpendicular have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. So looking at the equation for slope, whenever you have those numbers at the bottom of a variable like that, you would say that y sub 2. So that's not an exponent. Okay, it's not y squared, it's y sub 2, y sub 1, x sub 2, x sub 1. So it's telling you that you have one set here, when you have the sub numbers that are the same, that's one set of xy, and then your other set of xy. Okay, and x sub 2 cannot be the same as x sub 1. Does anybody want to take a chance and guess why they can't be the same? Are you calling somebody? How about you, Alameda? You think you got an answer? Why can't the two x's be the same? What would happen if they were the same?
Then it would be a vertical line.
Then this number in the denominator would be a 0. And whenever you have anything in the denominator that's 0, that means you have a vertical line, which is undefined, right. So if you try to divide any number by 0, you get an error on your calculator, right? You can't do it. No, so that's why your x and y, your two x's can't be the same number. Now, the other way around, 0 in the numerator, that can happen. That's going to equal 0. But this one doesn't equal anything. Okay. All right. So also, lines that are perpendicular have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. So, for example, if I have a slope of a line that's 3/4 and a line perpendicular to it, the reciprocal of that would be what? 4/3, right? You just flip it over, but then it says the opposite reciprocal, so that means you also have to change the sign. So you have to do both to get perpendicular slopes. Now, if they're parallel to each other, then that means the slopes are just going to be the same thing, right? Okay, any questions so far? All right, let's look at the first example. Find the slope of the given lines. 2x minus 3y equals 6. So you could find the slope of this line a couple of different ways, actually. One way that you could find the slope is by rearranging this equation into slope-intercept form, which you guys have probably done in the past. So to do that, let's do that way first, and then I'll show you a different way. I'm going to subtract the 2x to the other side, and then divide everything by -3. You just got to be careful to divide every term in the equation by -3, or you won't have the same equation. So my y is positive, and I have 2/3 x minus 2. So here's my equation for that line, and I can see that the slope is 2/3 easily. Okay, the other way that you could find the slope, since this is in standard form, they give this to you in standard form. Just to refresh your memory, ax plus by equals c. Okay, so a is 2, b is -3, and C is 6. So when you have an equation in standard form, the slope is negative A over B. As long as it's in standard form, that works every time. That way you don't have to rearrange your equation into a different form to get your slope. Now if you can't remember this, then you can always rearrange it. Okay, you always have a fallback, but this is kind of like a shortcut. So using that, m equals negative, this negative is part of the little formula. A is 2, B is negative 3. Okay, so since I have two negatives, that's going to make it positive, and I wind up with the same slope as I do using the other method. Any questions? All right, so let's look at number 2. Number 2, they already have your equation in slope-intercept form. Oops, I wrote it down wrong. Minus 3. So my slope, you can find that pretty easy. It's going to be negative 1/2. Now what about number 3? 3x equals 9. I can use the slope equals negative a over b if you want to. A is 3, b is 0, c is 9. So your slope is going to be negative 3 over 0. And what does that tell you? It's undefined. It's going to be a vertical line. Any questions? Okay, let's look at number 6. Find the slope of the line containing the points and then graph the line. Negative 1, 4, and 1, negative 2 are your 2 points. So I'm going to use that formula. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1 to find the slope. And then we'll graph it. So does it matter which point is my first set of points and which one is my second set? No, it's not going to matter. You just got to pick one to be the first set. Pick the other one to be your second set, as long as you're consistent when you're setting the problem up. So I'm going to say that this first set is my x sub 2, y sub 2, and the second set is my x sub 1, y sub 1. Again, it doesn't matter. You could, I put 2 and I'm at 1. You could do it the other way around and you're going to wind up with the same slope. It doesn't matter. You just got to pick one set to be the first set, the other set to be the second. So I'm going to substitute values in. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And then simplify. So 4 minus a negative 2 is 6. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. And when I reduce that, I'm going to have negative 3 for my slope. Okay, so to graph your line, you can graph it either using the 2 points that they give you or using the point and the slope. Doesn't matter which one. Whichever you like better. So go ahead and graph and I'll graph it. And we are going to get the same line. Okay, so I have my 2 points. Draw the line. There you go. Any questions? Okay, so let's look at number 8. Number 8 says graph the line through the given point having the given slope. So go ahead and graph that line for number 8 and I'll graph it up here. Okay, let's just see how everybody does. You're going to graph the point first and then count your slope. Okay, so first I plotted -4, -3, right down here. And then from that point, you can count your slope. So you'd go up 2 and over 3, rise over run, up 2 over 3, and then draw my line. I like to plot 3 points just to give me a better idea of where the line's going to be. Makes it a lot neater. Any questions? All right, let's look at number 11. We'll do one last example, and you guys can start on your assignment. We're going to graph the line through the point -3, 1, and it's going to be perpendicular to the equation 2x plus 5y equals 10. Okay, so I'm going to use the slope equals -a over b to get my slope. So in this case, it's going to be -2 over 5. So if this slope is -2 over 5, and I'm going to draw a line that's perpendicular to it, what will the other slope be? Positive 5 over 2. That's right. I need to flip the slope over and change the sign. Okay, so now I can graph my line. So first my point is -3, 1. And from that point, I'm going to count the slope. Rise 5 and run 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Here's my next point. And I'm running out of room, so I'm not going to plot another point. I'll just draw my line. Any questions?